Hey guys, what's up? So for all the people watching right now, you're most likely watching this video after I already live streamed it. So just go ahead and scroll a couple of minutes into the future, or however you want to say it, like skip a couple of minutes here, because we're waiting a second for some of the people to hop on in. But I see Rob, I see John, welcome already to the stream. I see Jonathan, RJR, welcome, welcome, welcome. I see Dario, welcome everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting day. I just noticed this XRP Ledger stablecoin proposal by Joel Katz, or AKA our goat, David Swartz. So I thought I really should go ahead and quickly discuss what I think about it and what I found. I'm guessing most people didn't see it. I'm guessing most people haven't seen it yet. So how you guys doing? Just gonna wait for a couple of people to hop in here. I did not have notifications on here. I think my first notification becomes available in like 20 minutes or so. But I was like, nah, I'm gonna have to stream it right now. I was too excited, so I was like, screw it. The people who see it will see it, the others will not. It's okay. I'm not able to see the chat though. I guess that's kind of annoying. Like it says unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. Too bad, I guess. Do want to change the thumbnail. All right, there we go. Right, then I guess we are able to start. Should we start right now? If you guys can quickly press the like button, let's start it up. Let's get 10 likes and then let's start the interview or the video or the proposal really. It's definitely an interesting one, so I really recommend you guys to just stick through it. It's going to be really heavy. All right. 5 likes, good enough. Let's start.
Released a list of suggestions. Hi, this is David Schwartz, also known as Joel Katz, CTO at Ripple. I recently released a list of suggestions for XRP ledger development, and I got a lot of questions about the stablecoin proposal, so I thought it might be helpful for me to walk through what I have in the design to give people a better idea of how I intended the system to work. So first of all, it's a collateralized stablecoin. That means tokenized assets whose value are expected to remain constant in some unit. So if it's a dollar stable coin and you have 10 of it, you're expecting its value to remain stable at $10. These assets have a backing asset, in this case XRP. That means that there is something that is supposed to guarantee its value. Now, in some of those systems, you can actually redeem the stablecoin for the backing asset. In some, you can't. What's interesting about this proposal is that the stable coins are perfectly liquid to XRP at face value on the ledger. So in other words, if you have a dollar in a dollar stable coin designed on the system, what you have is a $1 claim on XRP enforceable by the ledger's payment mechanics. And the reason that that's important is with some other stablecoin designs, if the stablecoin isn't popular, it won't necessarily be liquid. If it's not listed on an exchange, if it can't easily be deposited and withdrawn, it won't be that useful. By the design of this system, the stablecoins can be offered through the on-ledger decentralized exchange, and they spend like XRP. So you don't need to find some way to make them liquid. You can just spend them right on the ledger. And of course, they can be pegged to anything that someone can provide a price feed on. Fiat currencies are probably what people typically think of, like dollars and euros or whatever. But they can also be pegged to things like stocks or precious metals or any other value source. As long as someone can provide a price feed for it, you can have a stablecoin pegged to that value.
All right, one thing I should add right there is that like the last couple of days, people were wondering like how could a stable coin be tied to gold, right? And he's actually addressing that kind of question right now by saying any certain thing, like any how would you say that? Any I guess like precious metal and like he says currency, all those things, it can be pegged to like whenever you can provide a price feed. Like you can just hear what he says right there. Pretty obvious.
So there are 5 critical components to the system. There's the operator, that's the person or entity that provides the price feed and creates the system. There's the price feed itself. There are the collateralized positions. These are the things that hold the collateral. Then there's the redemption process, which is the way that someone who holds the stablecoin converts it into XRP in a payment. And then there's a series of incentives to ensure that the stablecoin remains convertible to sufficient XRP to back its value. The stablecoin operator has to have an account on the XRP ledger, and they have to decide to operate specific stablecoin systems. So they might say, I'm going to provide a USD stablecoin, and that means that they're going to operate a price feed. There are also some system parameters that they tune to ensure the system stability. The price feed establishes the rate at which the stablecoin is exchanged for XRP, and it's also used to determine whether there's enough collateralization. A system parameter would be the collateralization level, the minimum to issue, which might be, let's say, 150%. And so if you have $150 worth of XRP locked up, you could issue $100 in a stable coin. The price feed also controls when a position can be taken over. We'll talk about that more later. It's part of the incentive system. Prices can include an expiration time for safety or where needed. So if the price is inaccurate, that might allow people to issue more of the stablecoin than the system can collateralize, or that might allow people to redeem the stablecoin and claim too much collateral. So it's critical that the price feed be accurate. The operator can provide a expiration time in the price, and if there's no price provided by the operator, then issuing and redeeming halts. Now, sometimes that's a good thing. So imagine if I wanted to issue a price feed pegged to Apple stock. It would be very odd if right around the time that Apple announced their earnings or while the market was closed and the price couldn't be well determined, there might be a race to take advantage of a misprice. So for something where the price can't be determined at all times, the system operator just doesn't provide a price during the time when the price can't be determined. Now that means you can't issue or redeem, but someone who holds the stablecoin and wants to spend it is still not screwed because there's still the on-ledger decentralized exchange. So if someone's willing to buy the asset on ledger, they can still sell it. The redemption process is just paused. So
Holy, oh my days! This is actually definitely a little bit of a deeper one. All right, he's really diving deep into the problem and the proposition. Really, all right, it's a little bit heavier than I expected, but it's pretty cool.
So there are these things called collateralized positions. They're on-ledger structures that someone owns, and they hold some amount of XRP, and they can issue an associated stablecoin. That's also what's redeemed against to convert the stablecoin to XRP. If you have a collateralized position, that's an asset that belongs to you. And it has a positive value in the XRP held and a negative value in the stablecoin issued. So for example, if I lock up $150 worth of XRP and I issue $100 in a dollar stablecoin, that position represents my ownership of the $150 worth of XRP, but my debt of the $100 worth of stablecoin. So it has a value of $50, and that will fluctuate with the value of XRP, and it functions like a leveraged long. They're tracked in an order book by collateralization level, and I'll explain more later about what that order book does. A redemption is the conversion of a stablecoin to XRP through the redemption system. It will be built into the ledger's payment logic through an IOU to XRP order book. So there's already an order book to sell the stablecoin. People who want to buy the stablecoin for XRP can place offers in the order book if they want, and there'll be a synthetic offer for redemption against the collateral pool. That provides assurance that the on-ledger payments can always be made by stablecoin holders. So if you hold $10 worth of XRP or you hold $10 in a stablecoin built according to the system, it should spend the same. Pathfinding, the first thing it will discover is that you can sell the stablecoin. The stablecoin might actually behave better than XRP because there might be people who want the stablecoin producing additional demand, so it's kind of like a value floor. It's at least as useful as an equivalent amount of XRP because you can convert it into an equivalent amount of XRP, but it also might be in greater demand for some reason. So it should track its value in XRP very, very well. It could theoretically exceed it if it's in high demand for some reason.
Wait, so what kind of reason does he state here? Like, you guys are watching as well, right? What kind of reason does he state here for the price of the stablecoin to be more or higher or slash more desirable? Because I know now he says like the stablecoin that is in whatever forever whatever reason pegged to XRP, for example, you could buy equivalent amounts of XRP for. I mean, that's completely logical. But then why would a stablecoin there, because it is pegged to XRP, be more desirable than the real thing? Because it can do exactly the same. So where's the real benefit? I guess he's going to explain more about that as he goes along. I'm just kind of wondering how you guys are viewing that. And I see Digital Asset Daily saying, it's great how crisp and clear David speaks. Even a kid can understand communication is key. Well, I think he talks really technical, but I think in his head, right, that's my personal thinking, like the the technical side is like times 100. And right now he's just trying to make it easy for us. But still, this is a difficult subject, but I think it's pretty interesting and pretty cool, as it is just a proposition, but okay. Ty City says the value would have to go up. All right.
Redemption operates against positions with the lowest collateralization level first, and I'll explain more about that later. So there are a system of incentives. One incentive is the least collateralized positions are redeemed against. So if you don't want your position to be redeemed against, you can over collateralize it. A severely insufficiently collateralized position can be taken over. So if XRP drops in value and you don't put more XRP into your position, you may suffer a loss other than the loss of the value of XRP. It's a small additional loss that's essentially like a margin call. Um, Margin calls recollateralize positions in danger. So if your position is insufficiently collateralized and someone else is willing to recollateralize it, they get the position. The amount that they get is the amount that they're willing to bid. So for example, let's say, well, I'll show more later. I won't go into detail without Anyway, the system operator creates some parameters. They're the issuer. They create the account that's the issuing account, and they pick a currency code. For US dollars, they'd probably pick USD. For other things, they can pick other currency codes. They provide the price of 1 unit of the stablecoin in drops of XRP, and that can be a fractional price. That can be, it's
All right, that I get that. That's pretty nice actually. So the price of 1 unit of the stablecoin is expressed in drops of XRP.
a
Okay.
floating point number. They specify the minimum collateralization rate to issue a stablecoin. 150% is sort of like my guess of a reasonable amount. And that ensures that the position doesn't become under collateralized if there's a small drop in the price of XRP. They also specify the maximum collateralization rate to take over a position. And this is a way, functions kind of like a margin call. We don't want positions to get under collateralized below 100%. So when they're in a vulnerable position between the minimum collateralization rate and 100%, others are permitted to take them over by recollateralizing them. And then they can specify a sort of reserve tax rate. That could be a fee that goes to the operator for providing the system, or they can use that as a pool to recollateralize positions should there be a increase in the value of the pegged asset. So one of the interesting issues is the drop in the price of XRP can cause a problem, but so can a drastic increase in the thing that you've pegged it to. So for example, someone might issue a stable coin pegged to, let's say, Ethereum, and if Ether goes up, it has the same consequences if XRP goes down in such a system. So they can use that reserve tax to build a collateral pool to protect the system against shocks. But we would expect that the system's normal incentive mechanisms would be good enough in most cases to solve that problem. They could also use the reserve to protect themselves from those shocks by investing it in the asset. So for example, if you had a system that was pegged to the price of Apple stock, the system operator might take the reserve and get leverage longs. Let's say they might buy options to buy Apple stock. And that way, if the price of Apple stock shoots up, which might be a problem to the system, the operator will now have the funds to back the system. Again, in most cases, probably not necessary because of the system's incentives, but it can also just be used as a funding source for the operator. We want them to provide a good price feed, and if they're not getting paid to do it, it's difficult. The incentives might not be very good. So the system has a collection of operations. You can create a stablecoin system. If you're the operator, you can adjust the system parameters. You can manage your positions. If you have positions, you can create them, fund them, issue from them, pay them down, or release their funds. You can redeem a stablecoin for XRP when you make a payment, and you can make offers to take over positions and recollateralize positions. So the operator has to create the system. They specify the currency and the initial system parameters, and that has to be done before any positions can be created. So if you want to create a dollar stablecoin, you have to set those parameters, and then you have to convince people that you're going to provide a reliable price feed. They can always adjust the price. And they're expected to adjust the price regularly to maintain the peg accurately. The system operator can also adjust other parameters such as the tax rate and collateralization level. Now you might think that they could raise the tax rate to kind of harm people using the system, but the tax only applies when XRP is moved into a position. So if the system operator were to shoot the tax rate up to something unreasonable, people would probably just stop locking up XRP. Anyone can create a position. There's currently no support for authentic
I'm seeing Marshall White say this was up yesterday and taken directly from his channel. This is literally not allowed to directly take from his channel. You need to be commenting over it. This is plagiarism, essentially. Well, one thing I want to note is that he has not monetized this thing. And I personally think Joe Katz really likes it more to just spread around the info about this proposal, right, rather than not doing it. I'm trying to comment over it, but there's a ton of people who would be saying like, hey, why don't you just play the freaking video, dude? And if I'm going to link the video, there's only going to be 1 out of every 15 of you who are going to really watch it. In this case here, you're watching the live stream, looking at the proposition or the proposal and actually getting the info. You can call it plagiarism. He can claim it if he wants to. He can get all the money. I don't give a shit, right? We're just showing what's important for XRP.
Or authorization inside the system. When created, that position is attached to the owner, just like an offer would be or an escrow. And that will probably just be combined. So you'll create a position just by moving XRP into it, and if it doesn't exist, it will be created. The owner of a position can fund the position by placing more XRP in it as much as they want at any time. If there's any stablecoin issued from the position, that increases the collateralization rate. And we'll have that create a position if none exists, so you don't need a separate create operation. Issuing from the position is the only way to create any of a stablecoin. The position must be sufficiently collateralized after the issuance. So you can't issue so much of a stablecoin that you don't meet the minimum required collateralization rate to issue, and that will change the position's collateralization level. So, for example, if you were collateralized at 200%, you had, let's say, $100 in XRP locked up, and you only issued $50 of a stablecoin. If you issue more of the stablecoin, the collateralization level will drop. You can also pay down your position, which is the inverse of the issue operation. You have to have some of the stablecoin, you put it into the position, and you've increased your collateralization level. You have to have sufficient stablecoin. The stablecoin is destroyed in the process. So just like issuing creates stablecoin, paying down a position destroys stablecoin. The owner of a position can also release funds from the position. This can only be done by the position's owner, and it moves XRP from the position to the owner's account, reducing the collateralization level. You cannot reduce the collateralization below the required issued minimum, so no releasing of funds would be permitted if the position is at or below the required issue minimum. If there's no stablecoin outstanding against the position, you could reduce the position's XRP level to 0, in which case the position would be deleted because it doesn't serve any purpose. Just like transferring XRP into a non-existent position creates it, removing the last bit of XRP from a position destroys it. So let's say Alice has 100.
That's actually also quite an interesting metric there, where if you take the last one and destroys it, I guess all these things are really quite obvious, but you have to hear them once for it to all make sense. And I guess David Schwartz does a very good job at that part or that thing, but just breaking everything down like Digital Asset Daily said, just really slowly giving you guys everything. And I think most people have to watch it twice just to understand everything that he said here, but again, you can take it slower if you want to. Afterwards, you could just slow the video down or go watch it yourself, maybe at a slower pace, or just watch it again, because this stuff is really quite important because it's a very interesting proposal for the XRP ledger.
$150 worth of XRP and places that XRP into a newly created position. Alice can then issue $100 worth of the stablecoin to ourselves. We're assuming a dollar stablecoin with 150% minimum collateralization level. Alice can then use that stablecoin as she pleases for as long as she likes. She can sell it, she can trade it, she can use it to get more XRP, whatever she wants. If she wants to pay her position down and get her XRP back, she needs to get the stablecoin back. So she might buy $100 worth of the stablecoin, use it to pay her position down. She can now get all of her XRP collateral back, whatever it's worth, destroying her position. To redeem a stablecoin for XRP, we'll have to modify the IOU to XRP order book logic. Essentially, one synthetic offer will be injected into that order book that represents redemption against the collateral pool. That will redeem against the least collateralized positions first, eliminate them, and sort of cleaning out the junk. If there are reserve funds, it can even redeem against positions collateralized below 100%. But if there's no reserve, then you can't redeem against under collateralized positions. So, for example, let's say Alice has 100.
Marshall, I just told you, David Schwartz does not give a shit. Right? You can just contact him, say on Twitter, like, hey man, somebody's taking your video and doing as if it's his. Well, I'm not doing it. You can see right here what the video is from. We're just taking a look at it with everybody, and this is not earning money at all, right? If you think so, like, there's 40 viewers, so David Schwartz will not give a shit. Is going to earn possibly, right, if we're lucky, $2 for an hour. So again, I don't give a shit either. If it's going to get taken out, well, at least you guys have watched already. And if David Schwartz claims it, I'll be the happiest man alive because he noticed me. Notice me, senpai.
$100 in a USD stablecoin and wants to make a payment that requires XRP. If the least collateralized position has $200 in stablecoin issued with only $210 worth of XRP, that would be only 105% collateralized, which is frightening. Alice gets $100 worth of XRP because she has $100 in a USD stablecoin, so she doesn't have the $100 in stablecoin anymore. She gets $100 worth of XRP to spend. Now, if you think about the position, if you subtract out the XRP but add in the stablecoin, the position now has $110 worth of XRP because Alice got $100 worth of XRP. It had 210 before. But now there's only $100 in stablecoin issued, so it's 110% collateralized. So redeeming against a position raises the position's collateralization level because it still has the same amount of excess collateral, but the issued amount is smaller. So redeeming against poorly collateralized positions improves their collateralization. This is one of the incentive mechanisms that kind of keeps the system stable.
Holy smokes. All right, again, I would have never... Damn. This guy.
So if you have a system that a position that falls below the takeover minimum, which is we recommend 105%, it's still over collateralized, but it's in danger. We have the equivalent of a margin call here. We want to recollateralize the position to at least 150%, and whoever does that gets the excess collateral. Participants can bid to take over positions for the least amount of compensation. So you might say, hey, I'll take over someone's position and I only want 2%. So let's look at how that might work. Let's say Alice has $150 worth of XRP in a position, creates $100 in a stablecoin, and the price of XRP drops till Alice's XRP is only worth $105. So we now have a position that owes $100 in stablecoin, but only has $105 worth of XRP. That position is still worth $5, but it's in danger of becoming under collateralized, so it represents a risk to the system. So if Bob has the lowest bid, Bob can take over Alice's position by putting $45 worth of XRP into it. If you put $45 more XRP into the position now has $150 worth of XRP. It's still issued $100 in stablecoin, so it's now 150% collateralized.
All right, so actually that's also making a whole lot of sense to me. Alice places $150 worth of XP into position and creates $100 in that stablecoin, in this case US dollar stablecoin. The price of XP drops, right? Because then the whole system would be completely like messed. So Alice's XP is only worth $105, which in this case would mean instead of 150%, it's only 105% collateralized, which is of course in this case scary because it is getting close to being under collateralized. Bob takes over Alice's position by placing $45 worth of XRP into it, right? So in that case, it goes from 105 back to 150 because now the position has $150 worth of XRP against the $100 that were issued, which is again 150% collateralized, which is in this case safe. So what Bob essentially did right there, Bob made the system safer by cleaning up an insufficiently collateralized position. So he cleaned it up. I have a couple of wonders, but I'm going to just wait it out and see what he actually says about it. Because I have a couple of questions still, but I think he will address them also. I don't think it's worth to kind of fight about it yet.
Bob made the system better by fixing the insufficiently collateralized position. Now, Bob had to put $45 worth of XRP into this position, but this position is worth $50. This position, for Bob, can turn $100 worth of stablecoin into $150 worth of XRP. Bob paid $45 for a right that's worth $50. Bob made $5. Alice lost that $5, but that's the risk you take when you have a leveraged long. Alice could have avoided that by removing the position or recollateralizing the position. Who gets to take over a position? We're proposing an order book of takeover bids with a size in XRP and a compensation rate in percent. So you could say, hey, I have 50,000 XRP that I want to use to recollateralize positions, and I need to make at least 3%. Whoever offers the lowest rate will get to recollateralize, and that will save the person whose position is taken over from a big loss. So instead of Alice losing 5%, if someone will take over the position for only 3%, then Alice loses less money. So there's also a reserve. The ratio is set by the operator, which can be 0 for no reserve. The reserve is paid into when you add XRP to a position. In the examples before, we sort of assumed a zero reserve, but you could tax, let's say, 0.1% as funds go into the positions. The reserve is stored in the operator's account, which means it's shared by all the stablecoins they issue. When a reserve is available, we'll redeem the position with the lowest collateralization, even if it's below 100%, and we'll pay the difference out of the reserve to clean up the junk. When no reserve is available, you can't redeem against a position that's less than 100% collateralized. There just isn't enough XRP to take out of it, and so that can't happen. So let's walk through one example of redemption with a reserve. So let's say Alice has $100 in a USD stablecoin and she wants to make a payment that requires XRP. There is a reserve, and the least collateralized position has $100 in stablecoin issued with only $90 worth of XRP. Of course, we would hope a takeover would prevent this, but let's assume nobody was willing to take the position over. So this position
Again, another important part of the proposition here, actually. So what if nobody decides, like, hey, I want to attend, I want to get in, I want to do this? And also kind of a fun, interesting thing I noticed here, like, he just streams, he does not give a crap about what it looks like in the back here, or he just made a video. I really, really do appreciate that. Also, the microphone and the headset, I like, all right? Knowing how, assumption, right? But assuming how wealthy he is, I just like the style here of just not giving a crap about the materialistic thing, just going with the flow and doing what you have to do.
position is only collateralized at 90%, it's under collateralized. Alice still gets $100 worth of XRP and loses her $100 stablecoin. $10 worth of XRP comes from the issuer's reserve and goes to Alice's payment. And the under collateralized position is removed since it has no XRP left. What's interesting here is that the reserve is essentially a subsidy to whoever created the position because they got to hold their leveraged long in XRP against a price drop longer than they normally would have. So what are the benefits of this system? So number one, it drives on ledger liquidity. These stablecoins are liquid to XRP, and people who hold these stablecoins will be making payments as if they had XRP, so there'll be more demand for liquidity from XRP into other assets. And it provides
So why is this so important? Well, he says it drives on ledger liquidity. Well, one thing we've seen in the past is that a lot of these bigger players do not really like to hold cryptocurrency, right? But if you can name it as a stable coin, right? If you can say like, hey, we have another currency and they probably know stable coins because of Libra, because of some of those banks like JP Morgan and stuff. They know stable coins, right? These banks know them, these other financial institutions, they all know them. And I think they're a lot more regulatory friendly. And also maybe Ripple is trying to kind of prepare themselves, kind of brand themselves towards not having to kind of worry about security issues when trying to convince other banks and financial institutions to hop on the plane and really start using on-ledger things in this case. So a stablecoin here could actually really change everything. And I know a lot of you guys are really crypto friendly and stablecoin like an X through it, like no-goes. But in this case, how he makes it sound, it does sound really quite appealing for the whole system that we're trying to support here. Because again, it is just driving up liquidity and actually allows for a lot more institutional adoption in the end, which is just kind of a win-win-win-win-win. I don't really see where the loss would be in this case because it is over-collateralized, like he said a couple of times before that. So in that sense, there is not really any risk, supposing or kind of going out from the fact that there will always be backers who are going to want to be interested. But even if they're not, right, he just explained in this little part right here why that doesn't completely matter, but why it would just be a little bit better if it were.
derivatives with exposure to anything, stocks, metals, and so on. And you don't have to worry about getting these assets listed in exchanges or how people will acquire them. They can be purchased on the on-ledger exchange, and they can easily be redeemed, and so you can use them to buy any asset that's liquid to XRP. So there are some risks in the system. So one of them is tolerance to sudden drops in XRP price. If the price of XRP drops very rapidly, that could create shocks to the system. I believe the incentives will cover most of those cases, but you can always imagine cases where it's just more than the system can absorb. There could also be unaffected effects on XRP supply and demand. One example would be if XRP drops in value and people start to want to pull collateral out of these positions because they're worried about their positions becoming under collateralized, that might cause a sort of cascading effect where a drop in XRP causes people to become nervous, and so they pull out XRP, which continues to put downward pressure on the price. Operator malfeasance or incompetence is a little bit worrisome. The operator of the system has to provide the price feed. If the price feed is unreliable, the system becomes less useful. So you are trusting the operator. It's not completely decentralized. There are some little issues with XRP Ledger IOU math weirdness because of its finite precision. It's not that big a deal, and I can go into more detail if anyone's particularly interested. Some possible additions to the system. Some way to allow the operator to limit who can create positions might cause a sort of cascading effect where a drop is worried about their.
All right, just to quickly get back into the risks here, he says tolerance to sudden drops in XRP price. I mean, that's obvious for the XRP Ledger stablecoin. Whatever. What else do I have to say about that? Unexpected effects on XRP supply and demand. Now, that one is actually where I get kind of interesting right there because of what he said.
Incentives will cover most of those cases, but you can always imagine cases where it's just more than the system can absorb. There could also be unaffected effects on XRP supply and demand. One example would be if XRP drops in value and people start to want to pull collateral out of these positions because they're.
Again, that's just when people start to want to take out, right? And that can happen due to really big or, I guess, unexpected effects on the XP supply and demand. Price, supply, demand for XRP all makes sense to why this stablecoin would
worried
change.
about their positions becoming under collateral.
And then weak hands will sell. That's basically what he says right there. Let's actually move on a little bit. He also says here that there could be incompetence or malfeasance from the operator. So it's not a decentralized system to the complete end. But I would wonder who the operator would be in this case. Would we consider Ripple an operator? So like, would they be the top goat here, or are we waiting for one or a couple of really independent, crazy geeks who are going to be building on the XP Ledger right now, or what are we kind of hoping / waiting for right here? What type of operator are we looking at, and what
has to provide the price.
And the XP IOU math weirdness, I personally do not know. I have no idea what he's trying to say with that. All right, completely honest with you guys, I have no idea.
Feed. If the price feed is unreliable, the system becomes less useful. So you are trusting the operator. It's not completely decentralized. There are some little issues with XRP Ledger IOU math weirdness because of its finite precision. It's not that big a deal, and I can go into more detail if anyone's particularly interested. Some possible additions to the system. Some way to allow the operator to limit who can create positions, maybe requiring to authorize trust lines if someone wanted to do that for some reason. Ability to lock some.
Well, actually, I do understand the math IOU weirdness. I'm guessing, or I'm not gonna speak it out loud yet. But if anybody wants to talk a little bit about it, because I do have a couple of theories, then let's get into it later.
Some parameters so the operator could assure that, let's say, the minimum collateralization level won't change. Doesn't seem that useful because they can always provide a bad price feed, so you can't protect yourself from a bad operator anyway. Ability to lock the reserve so it can only be used for redemption. Again, same argument. The operator of the system could provide a malicious price feed and do a lot of harm to the people using the system. So worrying about the monkeying with the reserve doesn't seem to be a particularly useful thing. The reserve is per issuer because it's in the issuer's account. You could imagine a per stablecoin reserve. So if an issuer had many stablecoins, they could have their own reserves. Don't see much point in it, but it could be done. That's it. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to listen to them.
What a goat. What a goat right there. What a man. So go follow his channel. I guess I've just done it. Subscribe to David Swartz on the YouTube realm. Really just quality stuff, man. I gotta give it to him. All right, I have nothing difficult, nothing harsh to say about it. Bert says here, need to watch this at least 3 more times to fully understand it. Well, I guess a couple of us need to do that as well. I think in the end here, I actually understand fully what he tried to cover. But it's definitely an interesting proposal. So my personal idea with this as well is that it could work really quite well to get a lot of these major financial institutions on board with on-demand liquidity, for example, because this is so much easier to propose to these bigger financial institutions, right? This is just so much easier and actually has a very good chance of succeeding. We also saw the rebranding from XRP to on-demand liquidity. With this together, everything does make quite a lot of sense to me. Also, in the Anthony Pompliano versus, I'm kind of saying versus because it's kind of a back and forth type of thing, Brad Garlinghouse interview, what's his name again? Pompliano asked Brad Garlinghouse, like, all right, XRP is so cool, but why Why XRP? Why not Bitcoin? Right? One of the questions he asked was that. Some people in the comments stated like, oh, he did not really give a good answer, but I personally think he did give a good answer. He said it's 1,000 times cheaper and 1,000 times faster. While that does make, again, an awful lot of sense to me, and in the end, if a stablecoin is pegged, right, so in this case, if it's built upon XP Ledger, it's pegged, what's the difficulty about it? Like, what's the con? The only thing you could be seeing as a con directly, which I don't have the biggest argument against, is that it will not affect the XRP price in the sense that some other things probably would. But then a counter argument for that is that, XRapid usage, massive liquidity is not necessarily a driver of price either, because it is in a sense of utility, but that's actually a indirect consequence or kind of an indirect reason for the price to go up. The direct result there is liquidity, right? But what does liquidity really provide? It provides not a, or doesn't provide a net increase in supply nor demand for XRP, just drives up the volume. So in the end, utility is increased, which will increase the price. But in the literal sense, there's not going to be a higher price because more people are buying it, because they're selling it just as fast. So even with a stablecoin, there is literally still utility as it is pegged and built upon XRP Ledger, right? So, I mean, the utility is definitely there. It's still being created. But in the end, there's not that many of the downfalls. I don't really see any bad side to this whole proposal, which is why I think it's definitely one that everybody should be watching. It also got a frick ton of views while I was just watching it here. Like, the first time I opened it, the first time I listened to it, I think it only had like just a small amount. Now, a couple hours later, man. But yeah, that's maybe because he's such a speaker. Like, he doesn't talk that mathematically advanced in this sense. He talks really plain, simple English, right? And he tries to explain to everybody in the simplest way, while also trying to kind of give you guys all the sides to the whole story as to why it is such a good idea. Example flow. Alice has $150 worth of XRP. Alice places XRP. Oh, this. I thought it said his. I was like, Alice is a guy. Well, Alice places this XRP into a newly created position. Alice can issue $100 of stablecoin to herself. Alice can use that stablecoin as this is again 150% collateralized. Alice can use that stablecoin as she pleases for as long as she likes. Again, that makes a complete lot of sense. And later, Alice has $100 of the stablecoin and uses it to pay her position down. Right? You can see it coming back. She can now get all her XRP collateral back, whatever it's worth, destroying the position. Are you guys getting it here? So in the end, you're kind of putting XRP into it, and you're getting stablecoin back. So in the end, right, if these financial institutions are using it while it's collateralized with XRP in this sense, it's a win-win-win-win-win if they were to start using it. I'm seeing this. Maybe I'm completely wrong with this all. If I am, make sure you comment it down below. But I don't know. It sounds just really quite good. Sounds really quite good. So where are you guys watching from? Who of y'all are here? Let me know in the chat box right now. I see a lot of you guys commenting about who is Alice. Well, Alice is just an example person right here. Nobody specifically. I see a lot of other comments. It took 20 years for VoIP to be adopted by the masses. Think Skype. How long will it take MIOP for full adoption? My guess another 10 years or so. Wow, you got nothing better to do, bro. Oh, that's against the other guy, Marshall, right? Douche. All right, let's see. You guys have any questions? They're not OTC selling this quarter. A stablecoin would tie up XRP, making less XRP available, driving up the price along with liquidity. Yes, I do think, again, that's my personal opinion. I could be having a couple of facts wrong, guys. It could completely be so, all right? I'm just watching this for the second time here, but I have been also looking at chat. I've also been doing a couple other things. So if I'm getting something wrong, just make sure you let me know. But what I'm thinking here is, how do we know they're not OTC selling this quarter, actually? Do you mean the fourth quarter or the third quarter? Like, do you mean like the quarter that just came in, or do you mean the quarter that is right now happening, like the last 3 months? That's what I'm asking. And also, a stablecoin would tie up XRP. That's actually true. We can see that from this example as well, because Alice has $150 worth of XRP. So, for example, let's take you, who asked the question, Aaron. You asked who is Alice, right? Let's take Aaron there, for example. You right now have $150 worth of XRP. Well, you, Aaron, place this XRP into a newly created position, right? What kind of position? Well, in this case, Alice can issue $100 of stablecoin to herself. You create a new position, and you can issue $100 worth of stablecoins to yourself because you've pegged it. Because you've collateralized it with 150%. You can see here $150 turns into 100, and Alice can use that stablecoin as she pleases for as long as she likes, because you can now go ahead and do something with it, whatever you freaking want. Like, you can buy something, you can sell something, whatever you want. But let's say, for example, you get that $100 worth of stablecoin back in the end, right? You have done a couple of things. Then later, Alice has $100 of the stablecoin and uses it to pay down her position. So otherwise, you're going to have to, you could potentially buy back stablecoin. You could potentially do some other things. Doesn't really matter. But in the end, you can buy your XRP back because you're paying your position down. And now you've got $150 worth of XRP again in the end. Diesel says your quarter coming in per Brad Garlinghouse. So you're saying Brad Garlinghouse said that in the fourth quarter of 2019, there's not going to be OTC sales. It's definitely possible. I have actually maybe missed that part as well. OTC sales actually were quite a lot different than I expected. Like, from the interview with A. Pompliano, I actually finally got like the first idea of how OTCs really take place with Ripple. Before that, I actually thought it was completely stupid. Like, I thought they were just selling masses everywhere. Brad Garlinghouse said it yesterday in the New York Economic Group. He stated Q3 OTC will be lower due to them turning people away, sending them to other brokers and exchanges. I actually noted that as well, that Q3 OTC will be lower. Well, actually, quarter over quarter, it will be lower every single time because they're more so referring people to other. We actually noted it down in our notepad. They're further referring people to others, and they're just saying, like, no, we don't like that. And, like, they don't have to because there's enough liquidity in the market already. I don't completely know where we said it here, I think. Some of it is used for deals, some of it is sold programmatically, some is OTC, which are institutions who want exposure to XP without using the market. So who are these OTC purchases coming from? Hedge funds mostly, big crypto speculators, and this has happened to like 20 to 30 unique players who have bought XRP OTC. Ripple stopped OTC though. He actually said that he stopped OTC, but then at one point said they're almost not doing OTC anymore, which is why I said, in the comment right now, like, have they stopped completely, or are they, gonna be stopping it? Because I know for a fact they're most likely still having a couple of players who really are interested in buying OTC, and Ripple will most likely not turn them down if the players are important enough. And in this case, Ripple stopped OTC because there's enough liquidity now on the market to get it for all these players. So all these players that have wanted to buy XRP and who did not want to have to use the market, right? These big crypto speculators, hedge funds, which were 20 to 30 in those couple of years, can now just use the market because Ripple actually refers them to OTC desks or just general market if they want to buy right now, which is, again, what that would say. Now, I still, to this point, don't know if they completely stopped though with OTC, because in the interview he also said he's doing it a little bit still. I've not watched the New York Economic Group live stream yet, or the whole situation. I think it's like 1 hour or whatever. How long is it? 50 minutes? New York Brad Garlinghouse. I guess we're going to find it right then. All right, 45 minutes or 50 minutes from Leonidas. All right, I'm going to have to check it out, I guess. I was planning to check it out, but I've just not had the time yet. I've just been watching, or kind of looking after the fact. No, the podcast I've looked at, this is the podcast right here. The New York Economic Group is not a podcast, it's an interview. The podcast with Anthony Pompliano is this one right here. Oh, okay, you're seeing... Okay. Yeah, the podcast we've watched, we saw everything for. I've seen reviews of the Economic Club interview. I've seen most of what he said, but I haven't watched it myself. I just watched the notes that some of my friends have made. He also said yesterday that the max discount they give over the counter is 5% for major player. While there was actually a little bit of a question about that, because Anthony kind of proposed what's the max discount. He kind of threw up the ball of saying 20. And Brad Garlinghouse kind of stayed low with that, and then just amidst something, amidst the talk, he kind of said like 5%, but they didn't really confirm it too well, which is why I have a little bit of doubts about that, or if that's completely the case, because they were just a little bit vague about it. It could be the case, though. It could be the case that it's really 5%. He also said yesterday that the max is 5%. I believe they are not interested in the tens of millions. I think it needs to be 100 plus mil now. Could be. We don't really know. We could just fill in the blanks, but we don't really know in the end, right? We can guess how much they're doing, but who really knows? One thing I learned yesterday from that as well is that they're selling programmatically. I had no idea about that, so that's a little bit of an eye-opener for me. Alex, why you so offensive, dog? But yeah, interesting proposal, right? Interesting, definitely quite interesting. Where are you guys watching from? I see XRP Ali Lacour. Where you watch from? So Alice could get more. Okay, let's see. Matthew Snow says so. Alice could get more back than the $150 if XRP price goes up. Let's actually see what he stated about that right here, because he's actually seeing that as quite a scary thing. Where is it right now? Wait, it was this part? No, it was not this part. It was earlier. They said a little bit about that. So let's see here. He points out at one point about risks of the XRP. Wait, we actually saw it at the risks here, that if XRP price moves, the whole system kind of falls apart a little bit. Let's see. Oh, darn it. I just pressed the wrong thing.
So one of them is tolerance to sudden drops in XRP price. If the price of XRP drops very rapidly, that could create shocks to the system. I believe the incentives will cover most of those cases, but you can always imagine cases where it's just more than the system can absorb. There could also be unaffected race
Right,
to
it doesn't
take
explain it well
advantage of
enough.
a misprice. So for something where the price can't be determined at all times, the system operator just doesn't provide a price during the time when the price can't be determined. Now that means you can't issue or redeem, but someone who holds the stablecoin and wants to spend it is still not screwed, because there's still the on-ledger decentralized exchange. So if someone's willing to buy the asset on ledger...
Oh yeah, what he said about that is, in the case of weird price drops, it just all depends on what somebody's willing to pay for it, right? That's what he kind of points it towards, because you have that on-ledger decentralized exchange. So if there's going to be somebody who wants to get it for that amount, you're gonna have it. Otherwise, no. I'm just looking for the exact point where he mentioned this. Like, it's just a complete section. I don't know if it was the beginning or the end. Okay, so what's this proposal? Let's quickly check through it again a little bit. Bring XRP collateralized stablecoins to the XRP ledger. Yes. By design, these stablecoins will be perfectly liquid to XRP at face value on the ledger. Stablecoins are usable even if not widely adopted, can be pegged to anything. So actually, my assumption with this whole system, actually, because your question is a little bit different than I expected it to be. I read it wrong, I think. If you have $150 worth, it depends on what it's pegged to. Wait, let me just step backwards. It depends on what it is pegged to. Because in theory, right, let's go to the freaking slide. Where is it?
More than the system can absorb.
Right. For example, if the slide here could pop up where it says like you have $150, which turns into $100 worth of stablecoin, right? In that sense, if the XRP price goes up, right, and the stablecoin value is pegged to something else, then yes. But if it were pegged to the same thing, then no. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh wait, I should just look this type of stuff up. I could play it muted until I see the slide. Yeah, maybe that's it. Let's see here. Each bid has size and XRP. No. Or is it more? 100%? No. Yeah, no, my explanation is not too good. I'm gonna work on that one. I'm gonna write you a message. No, I'm gonna try to redeem myself there. Let's see this one. Okay, this is not the one I was looking for. Example, redemption. This is if all goes wrong. So Alice has $100 in USD stablecoin and wants to make a payment that requires XRP. The least collateralized position has $200 in stablecoin issued with only $210 worth of XRP. So again, in this case, it's not $150 buys $100 worth of stablecoin, but $210 buys $200 worth of stablecoin, which is only 105% collateralized, because we've collateralized in XRP, and in this case, it's only 105% of what the position is at. Alice, of course, gets $100 worth of XRP and loses her $100 stablecoin in stablecoin, and the position now has $110 of XRP against $100 issued, which is 110% collateralization. Okay, so this is actually redemption to kind of beat the system again, because he said a couple of times in this whole proposition that if all goes wrong, the system will most likely fix itself, and that is true, because in this case, if she takes out the $100 that she put in the beginning, right, because she has $100 in stablecoin and wants to make a payment that requires XRP, and you're always going to have that because people are constantly changing, Alice is going to kind of exchange with this situation or with that person to make the collateralization rate better, right? Because here they've redeemed / raised the position's collateralization level from 105 to 110, and that can actually be done a couple of times again to make it a little bit better. And so in the end, it will always be around, or at least they're going to go and hope for 150, right? I think he said it has to be between 105 and 150, or at least that's like what they would like to have. Marcia says, a lot of good info. Sorry for the hate earlier. I thought you were just streaming already shown info like a lot of streamers do, you're actually engaging. Apologies again. It's no problem, dude. Just be a little bit more careful, because in the end, David Schwartz, right, it's all about spreading the proposal and spreading kind of the idea for him, because I really know for a fact he doesn't give a shit about the $2 an hour that you would earn with streaming, because, I mean, he's not going to claim it anyway. And he also doesn't care about you showcasing it, because that's really what he's making it for, to spread it to enough people. I am really quite sure he doesn't care about making his channel popular either. So in the end, I don't see a con to really just blindly copying it either. You're just spreading the word around, which is what he would like, right? CTO at Ripple. What else could he want? It's free promotion. All right, Ramiro says, so if you're wanting to buy at a discount and you're a speculator, not a bank or financial institution, go get your XRP at market prices on the exchange, bro. Yeah, yeah. So if you wanted to buy at a discount and you're a speculator, not a bank or financial institution. Wait, what do you mean with discount? I mean, do you mean discount as in the price is lower now than it could ever become? Because if you're buying it on the market, you're not going to get a discount. If you're using it through Ripple, right, and you're a major financial institution, so a major hedge fund speculator, because those can still be speculators. You don't have to be a bank to have a lot of money, though. Because, I mean, there's hedge funds that have billions of dollars, right? So in theory, a hedge fund could have more money, or at least that they want to invest into XRP, than a bank. So that's really not a big point right there. I also don't know if Ripple specifically only wants banks, or if they want the most amount of money / the biggest financial institution / the biggest liquidity they can get. It's something I just don't have the answer to, and I can just kind of think they want to have as many partnerships, but do they want it frequency or amount of liquidity? I'm thinking liquidity due to what Brad Garlinghouse said in his latest interview with Pampliano, where at first they tracked, what was it now? At first they tracked contracts, then deployments, and now volume, right? Due to him saying that, I'm thinking they care mostly about the volume in terms of transaction numbers, but could also be in terms of US dollars or whatever other currency. I don't completely know. It's interesting, though, to think about that as well. But to get a discount, I think you have to be a really, really, really big player right now to ever still get a discount from OTC sales. Thank you, Matthew, for the questions, I guess. I have not answered yours correctly, right? Or was it not you? You said sort of. Yeah, no. Yeah, not too happy about it, but okay. Thank you for stopping by, I guess. All right. Are you guys following me on Twitter already? A lot of you guys are not. Go follow me on Twitter, man. What the frick? Why not? What do you have to lose? It's the best Twitter out there. Go follow it, bros. And also, I see 30 people press the like button. I really do appreciate that, you guys. I really freaking do. Like, every time I stream, a little bit more people get excited, sorta, and more people press the like button instantly. I really love that stuff, man. It really does give me a smile on my face. All right, Diesel says here, Ripple wants any company that moves money on a daily basis to be a client. Well, yeah, I'm assuming they want everybody to become a client, but what is their prioritization for? Like, what are they really mainly focused on? We know it's financial institutions / banks, but is it in the end for like amount of number of transactions or is it like total volume in dollars is the question right there. Matthew says here, I'm also thinking if this stablecoin could be incorporated into some sort of exit strategy. That depends on what the use cases are for the stablecoin, I should say. Right? Because in the end, it doesn't really matter if it's stablecoin or XRP for us, since we're still quite happy with it all. We don't really care, right? So what are the difficult parts about using a stablecoin and the good parts? Well, there really are not that many differences for us if we're using XRP or stablecoin, depending on where you can spend them. For example, if you can spend XRP and the stablecoin on every single store, all right, then of course it's not going to matter at all, because you've collateralized your $100 worth of stablecoin with 150 of XRP, which is kind of actually possibly a bad thing in the end, because it's not going to hurt because you can always exchange it back, but it's kind of a bad thing there, I would say. If you can spend your money everywhere, regardless of what currency it is, then I don't really see the use in having the stablecoin as an exit strategy. Because, I mean, why not just use XRP? Why would you do the effort of changing it over? Or why would that even be useful? I'm doubting. I don't know. Marshall says, with them turning people away to exchanges, it increases the demand in the retail sector. So in theory, the more this happens, the more we will see a natural growth and progression. Very good step for us. In theory, yes, if they do actually reject or kind of forward these major hedge funds, and I'm kind of like doing my fingers with those bunny ears because we don't completely know exactly who they're talking about. But let's say they're talking about major hedge funds, major speculators, right? And they're kind of forwarding them to exchanges to go ahead and nah. I mean, what are the odds that they're gonna forward them to exchanges? I think it's gonna be OTC desks that they're gonna refer them to. And in the end, we're not gonna notice that too much. They're gonna be there, they're gonna buy it, but I don't think we're gonna notice it at all. I don't think so. But yeah, in theory, if they were to get forwarded to the general market, it would be a positive thing for us because these speculators buy big, so that would just mean more ask, more demand for XRP, higher price. Simplest math ever. So that would be definitely quite good. I could give you that one. Let's take a little bit of a quick little peek at the XRP price. I've not checked it in a couple of hours here. It is at, where is it at? 27.02. All right, we're down a little bit. You can see it right here. Against BTC, down quite heavily right now, kind of taken away from the gains we've seen a little bit before. Not too happy about that one. I actually expected us to kind of stay above 27.50 or 27.30. We didn't. We're below it once more. General crypto market, though, not looking too positive here. Most of these coins not doing that good. Bitcoin SV getting a little bit of gains, and Bitcoin themselves. But the rest of these coins, or I guess Ethereum a little bit. The rest of these coins not taking it too lightly, not doing too good. By the way, a lot of you guys tell me to go and look into Chainlink. I've still not done it. I still need to do it, man. I still don't have any idea what they do. Maybe I should take a little bit of a look. You say Ethereum Classic? Oh yeah, 5.5%. Maker as well, 7%. These coins, though, I'm like more so focused on the top 10 here, just because it's like these make a little bit more of a difference than those other coins. I should be watching the first top 25 though, or something like that, because in the end they do make a lot of influence and make a lot of difference. But I put my focus on top 10, but also VeChain and also Digibyte. So yeah, I also Holo, also ZRX I could cover. So I'm yeah, should not be talking about that too much. I like a lot of these coins, man. To get back to the proposal, what do you guys think about it? Because we've talked about my side of the deal and what I think. What do you guys think about it? Do you think it's a good proposal? Do you think it's a bad proposal? Do you understand the proposal? Do you think I should play it again for the people that are tuning in now and just leave? Just go downstairs or just like go watch it again to understand it even better? I'm not planning on it, but maybe. Let me see what you guys like. Comment it right now. Let me know. By the way, I think the chat on my chat box, like the YouTube Studio one, is really slow. Because if I watch it on my phone, it's actually ridiculously fast. Like, I see what you guys write almost instantly. But on the computer screen, yeah, it's taking its fair share of time. But let me know, guys. What do you think about it? Do you think it's a good proposal? Etc. Okay. Right, you guys not even talking about it no more. All right, fair enough. You guys are fair enough. You guys don't know either. All right, guys, we're gonna end off the stream then here because I guess there's no more questions, no more ideas. I will be seeing you guys later in another couple of crypto videos because I still have a couple of ideas that I have to post and a couple of things that I really have to showcase on the YouTubes. So again, make sure you check out the channel. There's going to be a couple of cool things on here. And also, I have an idea for my second channel. The second channel, by the way, is called Dusty Finance. I don't know if you guys know it even. Let me just quickly go to my channel somewhere. My channel, I don't know how you press it sometimes. So here we go. For example, on my channel, if you go to channels here, you can see Dusty Finance. I recommend you guys all to follow it. Why? Because as I told you, these videos have no advertisements on them. They're completely free to watch, and they're definitely quite cool. And also, I'm thinking about doing a new series on here, which is going to be like 0 to a million or something like that. You know, where I just take you guys from exactly step 1, or maybe 0 to 10K, maybe 0 to 100,000, I don't even know. Just from like the start, right, from $0, a couple of tricks which you can do to then just earn your first couple of bucks, and then maybe take you through the process and steps of maybe investing it into things to just kind of keep accumulating it. I could do it as a daily series. I could do it as a weekly update series. I could do it as a, I don't even know what I should be doing it as. But I'm thinking it would just be a kind of cool thing to update you guys with, like, you know, like on a frequent basis, because there's just so many people out there who are like willing to invest, but they really have no idea where to start. So yeah, you guys let me know as well in the comment section down below what you think about that if you're watching it this far. I'm going to be proposing it once more in another one of my videos though, as I think most of the people are not really watching anymore. There's only 33 left. Well guys, let's end it off here. I'll see you guys again in another stream. Take care everybody and have a very nice day. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, everybody. Take care.